And Hornets, welcome back. Here we are again. Today, y'all, we are going to be doing part 4 of our Ready workbook, lesson 8, summarizing literary text. And that is going to be on page 72 and 73. So if you don't have your workbook out, this is a good time to pause me. Just go ahead and shut me up and get your workbook out so we can get started. And I'm going to assume if you're still listening right now, you have your stuff out and you are ready. Okay, so the first thing that we got to make sure we do is at the very top of our page, we're going to go and do what we've been doing, and we are writing. Remember, I write it, you write it. We are writing that we are still summarizing literary. Let's be a dot on top of that. We are summarizing literary texts. And just a reminder that to summarize something, to write a summary, is a brief retelling. And that literary text part that we keep coming back to deals with fiction, drama, poetry, folklore, and narrative nonfiction. Like biographies and autobiographies and memoirs. Now, the other thing we want to make sure we keep in mind is that when we are looking at summarizing, we want to make sure that, as I've said before, we want to keep it clean, and we're using SOAP, SOAP. And that means that we're going to keep it short. Once again, guys, that is brief. We want it to be objective, which means no opinion and no judgment. We want it to be accurate, which usually means that we want to make sure we go in our events in order, which means that we want to try to keep it chronological. And we want to make sure we paraphrase, that we retell things in our own words. We don't want to plagiarize, which means your own words. Keep in mind, if I get too far ahead of you, if I'm writing too fast for you to keep up, you can pause me. It's the best thing about this. All right. Our next thing is our instructions tell us to read the myth. To read the myth. And to use the study buddy and close reading guide to help ours. So down here, we're going to get into the study buddy gives you some information about myth. We also have our genre over here. I'm going to circle that tells us about that, reminds us that this is myth. So once again, the notes don't stop. I know y'all hate it. But myth means that this is going to be folklore. That is our overall genre that it is from. We looked at legends the past 2 days. Today we're looking at a myth. And that means that it's going to be fantastical. It is going to be very hard for us to believe because it's about a culture that might not be ours. All right. And let's see. It also, the big thing about it is it usually explains human behavior or the environment in some way. Human behavior or the environment. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to box our title. That's right, you guessed it. And our title is Beowulf and Grendel. Now, based on our title, can I come up with a positive, negative, or neutral connotation just yet? I'm not sure which name has the more positive or negative, or if they're both. So we're going to have to wait and see about that for just a second. Okay. So the thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to read your story. Oh, wait, we got a number of paragraphs. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So at this point, after you've done that, you need to, and I'm going to write down here at the very bottom some notes that helped me when I was reading it. I'm going to write setting. So that way, once you figure out the setting, you can come down and write it in. I'm also going to add characters because we want to make sure we underline our setting and we circle our characters as we read. And just if you need to keep up with it, you might want to write them down here at the bottom. Okay? Remember, setting deals with time and place, and characters are the people in this story. You're going to end up with a protagonist and an antagonist. So as you read, you are looking for all of that stuff. So you want to make sure you underline your settings and circle your characters because that's your first read. Okay? All right, so you can pause me and go ahead and read. I'm not going to read it to you. So ready, set, and read. All right, I'm assuming now that you've already read it. So let's see, I'm going to ask you a question. So, what happens to make the music and laughter stop at Harrod Hall? Well, hopefully you realize that it's because old Grendel, right here, entered the hall and killed 30 of Hrothgar's men, who's the king. And then for 12 years, no songs or laughter came because they couldn't get rid of, they were all powerless against Grendel. All right, who is Beowulf and what does he do? Well, if we go down to paragraph number 3, we finally get to see that Beowulf is our hero. And he tells them, I'm going to kill this monster. I got this. And I'll even do it with my bare hands. So, and that is what Beowulf does. Because at the very end, our resolution to our conflict is that Beowulf emerged the victor, and howling his song of death, Grendel fled the hall and ran till he reached the lake where he made his home. So, and again, he never terrorizes the Danes. So we're going to assume from that, we're going to infer that he dies. So Beowulf emerges the victor because he kills Grendel. Okay, so that's our first reading. Now you get to go back and read it a second time. And on your second read, you're looking to circle details that reveal the central conflict of this story. If you want to put a star, I like to put stars by conflict. So if you want to put a star, that would probably be better. And then when you get to go, so what is the fate of the main characters? Oh, wait, we just did that. Look at us. We're so good. Woohoo. Okay. So in your second read, you're going to star all of your major conflicts. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and let you read and star. All right. I'm assuming now you have paused and starred. So I'm going to go through and tell you what I starred as my major conflicts. And the very first one is that right here, we already underlined it, that Grendel entered the hall and killed 30 people. That is a huge piece of conflict that's about to start the rest of our problems. Because the other problem is that right here, even the bravest soldier was powerless against him. They couldn't stop him. So the conflict just keeps continuing until we finally get a hero that appears. And then we end up with I also have stars by I'll leave behind my sword because that's letting us know I think it's an important detail to know because I know in the original story that he rips Grendel's arm off with his bare hands. I just always think that's a cool little thing to add. And then we've got at the very end that we want to make sure right here that this battle was fierce and it lasted all the way until daylight, that they kept going all night long trying to figure out who was better. Okay. So, and that is what happens. So, and by the way, hopefully you realize that your setting is long ago in Denmark at the king's castle, which was named Harrod Hall because back then they named their houses or their castles. So we had King Hrothgar lived at Harrod Hall in Denmark, which is over in Europe for those of us that don't know. And then we met Grendel, who was our monster that tried to kill everybody. And then we also meet our hero, Beowulf. So those are your characters. Your protagonist is Beowulf. Yay! Woohoo, Beowulf. And your antagonist is? It is Grendel. That is correct. Okay. So then we get to our next page, which is always the fun one because this is where we've got questions. But this is also a new page. So, and it's still blank at the top. So we want to make sure we add our information. And that is still summarizing literary text. Now, I'm not going to make you rewrite everything from the previous page at the top, but just keep in mind we're still doing this stuff, okay? So our instructions, our directions tell us first to use the hints, wabam and wabam, on the page to help you answer the questions. So, which of the following statements would you most likely include in a summary of Beowulf and Grendel? Make sure you pay attention to it. What statements would you most likely include in a summary? And remember, summary, guys, we want that nice soap. We want it to be short, objective, accurate, and paraphrased. So, A says Harrod Hall was once King Hrothgar's favorite place. Well, that word favorite, that's a bit of an opinion. It doesn't actually tell us in the text that it's his favorite place. B says, I'm going to cross out A. B says Grendel preferred to live in dark, gloomy places. The text tells me he lives in one. It doesn't actually have the word preferred. So that is also an opinion. So I'm going to cross that one out. C says Hrothgar shows great weakness compared to the courageous Beowulf. Well, this right here shows great weakness is also an opinion. So that cannot be our answer. And D says Beowulf promises King Hrothgar that he will kill Grendel. Well, he does promise. So that is our only one. And that's also a really good detail that we would want to make sure we included in a summary is that Beowulf might be telling me he's going to kill the monster. So D is your answer. By the way, this is your main character. And this is a really good detail. And that's why I'm writing it down. All right, number 2 says, which is the best summary of the last paragraph of the story? Remember, guys, that is just paragraph number 5. Okay? That's all we're looking at is paragraph 5. So go back and look at paragraph 5 again. So, is it A, Beowulf and Grendel have a fierce and unrestrained battle? They do have that, but does it tell me who wins? If it doesn't tell me who wins or how it actually ends, then is that a good summary? No. B says Beowulf defeats Grendel, who returns to his lake to die. Well, do I have who wins? Check. Beowulf defeats Grendel, and Grendel goes to his lake to die. It tells me what happens at the very end. That's a really good possibility. I'm going to come back to that one because it doesn't have any objective or judgment statements either. and it's going in accurate chronological order. C says Grendel howls a song of death while he flees the hall. Well, that's true, but once again, it goes back to my previous for A is, does it actually tell me who wins? No, it doesn't. So it can't be my answer. It doesn't give me actually how it ends. And I want to say that that's not even in paragraph. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's just never mind. Okay. So D, Grendel gets what he deserves for terrorizing the Danes. Uh-oh. It says Grendel gets what he deserves. Guys, that is very much opinion. Okay? That cannot be your answer, which means your answer is B. And at the very end, a very last thing says to write a summary of the story Beowulf and Grendel in your own words. Be sure to include accurate and objective. Be sure to be accurate and objective. Include at least 3 details about the main characters, setting, and important events. Also include the story's theme. Okay? So there's all right. So my computer's telling me. Okay. So if it helps you, you might want to write the when, where, and then somebody wants but so then and then theme. Okay. And I'm telling you that to help you get to organize your thoughts together. Okay. And I will show you my answer to this on our Google Slides. So if you have any questions, please make sure you let me know, guys.